Beach Library. I'm visiting here at the Point Loma Library, by the way. The lighting is perfect. We're going to talk about this. And it's hard to show it to you very well. I am going to use my camera to zoom in on it, but what I want to show you is how to do that little wire wrapping at the very end of that pendant. You see it? It's really hard to see, but well, anyway. The reason why I want to show you that is a lot of us, when you're making jewelry, it's a lot of fun. You can use ordinary stringing wire and crimping beads to make something really simple, or you can get stretchy wire and make a stretchy bracelet if you want. But the strongest way to make a necklace or a bracelet is to use wire. And why am I holding pipe cleaner? Because I'm going to show you how that's done. Just 1 second. Okay, we're back in. So here is an example of a very simple project that you can do for a bracelet, and it's just one bead between each of these coiled wires. But this is a very strong bracelet, and the reason why I suggest it as your first project when you're learning how to work with this wire is because it can be imperfect, but it still looks nice. And if you're just using one bead, you end up doing the same thing, just focusing on the same thing again and again and again. And that gives you a chance to get some experience. Now here's an example of something that I bought at a store. And I wanted to show you the difference between what I'm doing and what you might find in a store, or it's something that it's not that important, but I wanted to show you why we like to learn this skill. Right here you can see that this necklace is made with a really strong chain, but every once in a while, as you can see here, they didn't coil the wire around the bead. They didn't coil the wire around the bead. You can see a hook there with an opening. And if you were to pull on that hard enough, see how that opens? And then your necklace breaks. Now, if I had made this necklace and I had coiled the wire in the way I showed you in the example, which I just put down and lost. I think I dropped it. If I had made the necklace with a coil like this, it wouldn't break as easily. You need wire, and I have an example here of, this is, let's see, this is 26 gauge wire. It's a little bit thin. You might want to go for something a little bit thicker. But what you'll need to do this project is some wire like this. It doesn't have to be, top of the line wire. But depending on the quality, I'd say if you're just starting out, go ahead and get a slightly heavy gauge, 26 gauge or heavier, and get used to using wire that's that thick. And then if you want to do something that's easier, you can, but if you get used to doing something that's that thick, then you don't have to worry about your hands not getting used to working with it. So you get your wire, and you need at least the 2 pliers, the flat nose and the bottlenose pliers. And unless you want to ruin your scissors, which I have been perfectly willing to do every once in a while, but you might want to get some good wire cutters. Those are the 3 tools you want in addition to the wire. And then of course you want to get that I'm going to use are these guys that have kind of like a clamp down. They're like jaws, and they've got, sometimes they have teeth, but they're flat. And they're just your typical pliers for holding on to anything real tight. And then we're going to use round nose pliers, and they are a little bit different. They're not flat anywhere. They're round, all the way around. We're going to use these 2 to do this. So I use my flat pliers to bend the wire at a 90-degree angle like that, so that I'm creating this beautiful little doohickey. Now I switch hands. I take my round nose pliers and I hold them here. Hold them here. I'm going to take the flat nose pliers and I'm going to wrap it around the round nose pliers. The round nose pliers are going to guide the wire. After I get about halfway around, I'm going to turn my round nose pliers around a little bit so I can continue guiding it like so, so that the end result is right through this hole is where the round nose plier was, and it looks like a little head with a scarf flying through the air. All right, now I'm going to turn it on its side. I'm going to use the round nose pliers to hold down the wire on the loop. So I'm going to clutch down the loop with the round nose pliers, hold it down, and then I'm going to continue to wrap this wire around the base of the wire 2 or 3 times. And then when I'm done, what I have is this nice, this is a bigger example, but you end up with this nice wire with several coils below it, and then you usually have a little loose end there, and you can usually use your clipper pliers to just cut that off, and you're done. Okay, I've already shown you, step 1, you make this right angle. Step 2, you make a little loop, and then step 3, you basically wrap the scarf around the neck of the loop, like so. And as you can see, my loops are not perfect, but that's the idea. Now I'm going to show you how to do that live. So here's some wire. And when you're not used to doing this, I would say use enough wire that you're comfortable with until you can figure out how long the wire should be. I'm going to work with wire that's this long, just so that I know what I'm doing as I talk to you, and I don't have to worry about messing up. So here's the wire. I'm going to make a right angle, as I showed in the video before. So there's the right angle. Now I'm going to grab my bottlenose pliers, and I'm going to hold them like this, and I'm going to wrap this around the bottlenose of the bottlenose plier. But I'm going to use my tool to do it so I'm not hurting my fingers too much. So first I'm going, as you can see, there's the right angle there. I'm going to hold the bottlenose right there. I'm going to go above I'm halfway there. Now I have to turn my bottlenose pliers around to complete the circle. This is kind of hard to do in front of the camera, but hopefully you get the idea. And there. Now this is a really big example. As you can see, it's not entirely perfect, but you can kind of see there is a little head with a little scarf flowing around, and I can kind of roll it around and adjust it if I want to. And once I'm done with that, then I hold the head this way with the bottlenose pliers, and now I'm going to wrap this wire around the base a few times. So there's wrapping it once. I can kind of squish it if it's too far away. I can kind of go up like that. There. Kind of, I don't know if you can see this. See that? And I'm wrapping it around 2 or 3 times depending on how I want my final product to look. And look how I'm just totally destroying the end of the bracelet. But once I'm done, as you can see, the head's no longer at a right angle like it's supposed to be, but I can fix that. I can just kind of tilt him, fix it, or I can use my fingers to fix it. And if I want, if the coils are too far apart, then I can use the pliers to kind of squish them together if I want to do that. Right now, I want to show you how to do the other side. So I'm going to cut this off. Ta-da! There we go. Now, I'm going to add a bead. There we go. Now we're going to do the other side. Now, here's the trick. We want the other side to look, to have just as many coils as this side, so it's kind of symmetric. And to do that, I use my flat nose pliers to kind of get an idea of how wide that is. My coils are about that wide, so I hold them there to make my right angle. There's my right angle. Now, I'm going to make my little head with the scarf. Here. Twist up. Circle around there. Now, I have a head with a scarf. Now guess what? If I want to be able to connect this to something like the end of this pendant, I gotta do something really special right now. This is what I do. Before I finish coiling everything together, I have to take the pliers and I have to open a little door. And if you can see that, see how I've made a little opening there? Now I put whatever it is I want next on my bracelet or my necklace or whatever. I loop it in there, and now I have to close my door. And this part's a little bit tricky, but you hold your pliers in the middle, just like you were before. You gotta make sure whatever it is that you're having is like on this side, on this side of the circle. It's really hard to do on camera. And then I hold the pliers right here, and then I use these pliers to close the circle. So I've got the next part of the project in there, and I use these pliers to close the circle. So now the circle is closed, and I continue. I wrap this wire around once, and then a second time, and then a third time. And I apologize, I know this doesn't look too good, but you get the idea. And if you feel like those coils are too far apart, you can squish them together like this. And there. Now these two are connected, and see how the loop isn't a perfect circle anymore? That's easy to fix. I just put my round nose pliers in, and I just kind of correct the circularness of the hoop. Now I'm done. And I can cut off this extra wire here. And now if I were making a bracelet, it would, you know, just be the same bead again and again and again. But I was using this because it was on hand. It was a little bit easier as an example. And as you can see, this is not entirely perfect, but you know, it's wire. You can bend it to fix it a little bit. Now, the idea was, what I wanted to do is, in this case, I wanted to make this is going to hang from a pendant, and I just wanted one more little thing hanging from there. So that's the only reason why I did it that way. But there's one more thing I need to do. And usually you wait until you finish an entire bracelet to do that. So like after you've finished making an entire bracelet, you go through one bit by one bit, and you use your flat nose pliers to take care of any loose wire that's sticking out. Little loose wire sticking out there. So I'm going to squish it down so that it doesn't snag on my clothes or anything. Now this loose wire, okay, these are tangled, but let's untangle it first. So here's a loose wire that is just way too long. I really need to fix that. So I'm gonna hold it just right and cut off the end. And now I have just a little bit there at the end that I'm just gonna kind of squish it in on itself, because you really don't want those things sticking out. And it's not really perfect, but I really appreciate you, because you're not laughing at me, right? I'm laughing at myself, don't worry. Okay, so that's the process. I will look back on video and see if I need to add anything here, but that's the process. I'll show you how it's done again. So first thing I did is I made a 90-degree angle. Now I'm going to go here. I'm holding the round nose pliers like this. Now I'm going to wrap this around the round nose pliers, see? Until they go all the way around. And that means I have to kind of swivel my pliers a little bit. When I'm halfway around, I gotta keep going. I gotta wrap it all the way around until I am at that point. Once I get to that point, I'm ready to finish the project. And I'll show you how that's done. I hold on to this, and I keep wrapping it around. Here, there's one. If I want, I can use the pliers to tighten it up a little there and wrap it around a second time. And whether or not you want it to be 2 or 3 times is entirely up to you. Sometimes I do 4 or 5 times if I find I've left myself too much space there. Like, see, look at all that space there. I might actually just wrap it around as many times as I can and pretend that I wanted it to look that way. So there, I'm on a 3rd turn. I'm just going to keep wrapping it around until I'm happy. And as you can see, it's a lot about just getting your hands used to holding the pliers. But you want to use these pliers, because if you don't use these pliers and you're doing all of this with your fingers, that's gonna hurt really bad, even after a few tries. You're gonna split your nails. You're gonna, especially if you want to do this a lot, you're gonna get injuries from the repetition. Now I'm gonna say I'm done here. As you can see, I just finished that coil. I'll do this one more time for you, but let's show you how we cut it off. I got a little bit there that's just sticking out. So I get my flat nose pliers and I take that little bit and I squish it. And then we're done. Once you get a hang of this, and I suggest doing a really easy bracelet project where all you're doing is one bead and you're doing these little coils between each bead. You do one the size of your wrist, a bracelet size. Once you've done that, you've done it about 20 times or so, your hands kind of learn how to work with the wire, and you're done. As long as you practice, you can get used to doing this, and you'll be able to make lots of jewelry with coiled wire the way I'm showing you.